Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is where we have motivational, inspiring conversations and interviews that we hope you'll enjoy listening to.
Join us and other inspired actioneers on this alchemical, transformational journey.
Welcome back to the Inspired Action Podcast. I'm Jay. This is Pod 96, and today we're going to be talking about the earth element. And if you are the earth type, or the earthy type, as we like to say, the question of the day for you is, what do you truly want out of life? Not for your children, not for your friends, not for your parents, not for your partner, just for you. And I'm going to throw that right out to my co-host, Lita Herman.
Welcome back, Inspired Actioneer listeners. We are really excited to move on in this elemental series that we've been doing now since Pod 93. And that's, what does each element truly want? And we discussed this idea in Pod 93. So if you haven't heard that, go back to that podcast episode, and it's going to tell you all about the second step of the first stage of alchemy.
So, Lita, go back to that question that I just threw out there and you didn't answer. How smart of you. What do they do when it's just about themselves? Number one.
That's a really hard one for Earth. And
Is that why you didn't answer it?
That's why I didn't answer it. You're going to have to listen to the episode to hear the answers. But what we're really talking about is what's going to give an Earth person a sense of completion and fulfillment in their lives.
Yeah, I think that's a really, we talk about Earth maybe over-processing and overthinking sometimes, but that really is the sense of completion, the fulfillment. That is definitely the main theme there for happiness. So, Lita, before we get going, let's talk about the exciting news we have for everyone. Yay!
Yay!
We have, if I can find my little thing here. Ready? We have our audio book, and it is out. It's through the Mystery Gate. It's available now on Audible and iTunes.
Yay! We have put so much time and effort into this wonderful
It's like
recording.
A birthing of like a year.
Yes, we feel like we've just birthed this wonderful
Again.
book.
Now you can all hear us birthing.
Now you can.
No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, it came out great. We're very proud of it. Our producer was awesome, and we just love it.
And thank you for everyone who's already listened to it for us, for listening for little things here and there. We're so appreciative of that. So
yes.
we're gonna have a little event, or is this the little event right now?
Yeah, right. Well, we are basically having some events coming up soon. So we do have a live events page on our alchemylearningcenter.com website.
Great.
So you can go there and check it out. We have some online classes coming up that are alchemy classes.
I'll try to do some Pod 100 swag because it's coming up, and then we'll have some of the book, the Through the Mystery Gate swag for that. All right,
Yeah.
I'll get down the swag wagon.
All right, sounds
So we
good.
have swag for the audiobook. We have swag for the 100th podcast coming up.
Yes.
We always have stuff for the Learning Center, and send us your walks. We'll send you T-shirts. We do all kinds of stuff. So,
And if you would like to help us by writing a review for the audiobook,
yes, please.
let us know. We'll get you a present of swag and or a free book.
That's
whatever.
why I get the swag.
Yeah,
so.
whatever we can do to thank you for writing a review.
And anyone who knows me, that's pretty much all I wear is our own T-shirts.
Yeah, right. It's true.
But they look cool.
And just a reminder, if you're not on our mailing list or in our Facebook group, we have an inspiredactionpodcast.com website. You can sign up for the mailing list there. We also have a Facebook group where you can go and post your walk and share different questions that you might have about everything we've talked about in this podcast. It's really great. So you can check that out. And, also just check out the Alchemy Learning Center if you want more. There's a button there where that you can get free access into the website itself. And so you get a lot of cool things when you first sign up.
And do you want to talk a little bit about the apprenticeship program starting?
Yes. And
there'll be a fourth version.
Yes. In September, we start a new group, and we've already filled it halfway, and we're just working with people who want to join us. So that's for practitioners or people who want to become a practitioner of alchemy.
Yes, and we also have a virtual option for this particular group that we're going to try. So because it's people from all over the world, it's quite global, and it's very interesting and fun, and we really love it. So if you'd like to check that, where would they go for that, Lita?
The Alchemy Learning Center. So you can check that out on .com, and it's the apprenticeship page.
All right, great. I'm looking at my notes. Oh, rate and review. You already said that. I'm going to say it again. Rate and review.
Yes.
Take 2 seconds. Please.
Yes. And if you're in Spotify or some other, place where you find, I think we're on Audible. We're on a lot of different places. If you don't mind switching over to iTunes or Google Play and write a review, that would be great. It seems like those are the most important reviews for us.
Sure, then this little podcast can be discovered all over the world.
And it's doing fantastic. We've been looking at our ratings and they're just going up and up and up. So keep spreading the news.
More than just you and I listening.
Yeah.
We're up to 3. No, I'm joking.
It's not just 3.
We're on at least the three continents.
Yes. And so thank you everyone for listening.
Let's get back to the
spreading
Earth.
the word. Yes.
And I'm sure everyone's waiting to hear us talk about this deep question. What do I really want? So let's unearth the answer, Leah.
Yes, the deep in the ground answer.
Yes.
Well, so many of you know that the earth element is the only element that has only one of the 9 palaces. So why is that? And that's because the Earth Palace is the most important palace of all. So they only get one because it's the big one. So what?
Dun, dun, dun. No pressure.
No pressure. And that is the home palace. And when we say home, we mean home with a capital H, not just your physical home, though that's really important, not just creating a family or being part of a community. Home is all of this and more. So you can think of that word as a spiritual home. It's where you belong. So that's what we mean by home with a capital H. So what we mean by that is at the heart of this episode today, and that's what Earth really wants, or it's related to that, and it's related to what's going to make them very happy.
Yeah, that sounds great. So before we continue, let's define a little bit the home to Earth. What does that mean?
Yeah, so home can be defined as just you and your parents and siblings, like the home you grew up in. But as adults, you leave that home, and then you, especially if you're Earth, you try to create another home, or you join another home. So you might get married, and you might have children, and then you've created.
You could join a cult.
Yes.
Right?
You could join a cult.
Your co-workers could be your family.
Yes, a lot of people join a company and never leave. It's
because they love it.
It's their home. So your co-workers become the family. You might become an activist and create your family on a larger scale in the world. So there's so many ways to create that feeling of home. But let's just say when we use the word home in this podcast, we're talking about all of the above. Anything that gives a person a sense of belonging.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll describe the home palace as the connection to divine, whatever that is for you.
Yeah.
So, but today we're talking about the earth energy, and if you have that, that's really, let's just grasp that again. It's all of the above. It's that sense of belonging. It's that completion we talked about in the beginning.
And one of the big problems for Earth people is that Challenges. One of the challenges for Earth is that ultimately human beings are really very flaky.
What? Yeah. What does that mean?
Well, one minute they pledge allegiance to their existing home, be it a family, work, a club, a country. A cult.
I'm joking about that. I don't know where the cult came from.
I don't know either. And then another minute, they completely change their minds. Now, when that happens, Earth people get very upset because they don't change their minds much. Once they kind of commit to, this is my family, this is where I belong, they want it to be stable. They want a reliable home. So, they want some place that's going to be safe. And part of that is the consistency of it and a sense of harmony in their home.
Sure. And what is the challenge if they look for it and they can't find it? Like, is that a real thing or?
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of Earths out there that are just looking everywhere for home. Yeah. So I always think of Ben Harper's song, Homeless Child. Homeless child, homeless child. What is left for the homeless child?
I'm going to leave that one for you.
You didn't have to sing this time, Jay.
No.
So in terms
Thank you, Ben Harper.
Thank you, Ben Harper.
It's a sad song, but you sang it kind of happy.
Yeah, right. Because I'm fire, right?
I'm sure that's exactly how we meant that song. I think he meant a little more sadder.
Yeah. Right. So an Earth person would sing that.
And is Ben Harper Earth?
I think he might be metal, water, or water, metal, but he's got a lot of earth. So it's earth in the top 3 for sure.
Okay, because that sounds like a sad song.
It is a sad song.
Do you want to give that another try, Lita?
You want me to sing it again?
Yeah, but like from the earth perspective.
Homeless child, what is left for the homeless child?
All right, that seems a little more appropriate.
Is that better? All right.
Not like a party song.
No. Now, we asked a lot of Earths about what they really want to prepare for this episode because, we kept getting these answers that were a little vague, right, Jay? It was interesting. They really answered the question based on whatever family member in their household was struggling. So, we just learned that when anyone is struggling around them, they can't really ask deep questions of themselves. They need to work out that issue first. And so then they can get that sense of harmony and peace, and then they can start working on themselves.
And you can imagine that could take a long time if you have children, if you're in a marriage that's challenging, or if you have parents that need help, or even like anything. It's almost like a distraction almost.
It's actually a never-ending project.
Right. And
because
so it's
if
hard
it's
for
not
them
one of your kids, it's your parents or your spouse. So it can be never-ending. Now, the one thing I want to say, there's one exception to this rule, and this happens to a lot of Earths. If any Earth gets so out of balance that they have to go into emergency mode for themselves.
Which happens.
Especially for a health scare or something like that, something really big, then they're only going to focus on themselves. And so you may think we're kind of like focusing too much on the fact that sometimes Earths think about who's struggling around them. That exception is really important because fundamentally every Earth person knows that they can't give to others when there's nothing left to give.
Right.
And so you may know and love an Earth in trouble and see that in that case, all the concern for others who are suffering kind of goes out the window. I mean, it's not that it really does, but they have to put that aside and they have to prioritize themselves for a change, but not for great reason. So anyway, we just wanted to say that, but for the sake of trying to answer the question today, let's just put that aside and say we're not talking about Earth in crisis. We're talking about Earths that are doing pretty good.
So maybe Middle Earth.
Yeah, right.
They're not too distressed, and all right. I tried to slip in the LOTR, Middle Earth. If you're out there and you get that, yay. Let me know, you can have a t-shirt.
So let's go back to the deeper answer to the what do I really want question. Because on the surface, it seems like they want a harmonious home, one they feel like they can belong to, one that doesn't have any deep struggles.
Would that be drama and trauma?
Yes. Yeah. And one where you just can have peace of mind. Earths crave peace of mind because they're the worrywarts of life. They worry about their loved ones. So when there is a crisis, it's a huge burden to the actual mind. And they feel exhausted often when a loved one is struggling because their minds are constantly working, constantly trying to solve the problems that their loved ones are facing. So when they have harmony and peace in their families, then there's no big problems. Then they can turn to themselves and start asking those deeper questions. And so then we can really get to the heart of it.
So what is that? And what is at the heart of it, Lita?
At the heart of it is deeper realizations. This is what they live for.
Deeper realizations. Echo, echo, echo.
Echo, echo. They love the aha moment. They really love it. They live for it. The power of Earth is deep thoughts.
That's why we love Earth, people.
Yes. And so an examination of yourself and your loved ones and how people feel, what makes them tick, who they are fundamentally and what matters to them. This is the power of Earth. This is thought. And by thought, we mean more like the philosophical kind. Although Earths also have a powerful analytical mind, those analytical skills are off the charts, but you put all that together and you have basically the perfect psychologist, which, by the way, is a field mostly dominated by Earth.
And healers as well.
Yeah, and healers, and anywhere where you have that kind of
You have to listen.
Yeah, philosophical plus an analytical. It's an amazing combo. So if you're Earth, you've probably done at least a layperson's version of psychoanalyzing your spouse, your parents, your sibling, your children, your boss, you name it. And it's just what you love to think about. And so the idea is what your mind is trying to figure out. It's how you solve these problems through the power of your mind.
And so you can clearly see sometimes how that gets to be over processing.
Yes. Or overwhelming.
Overthinking, over-worrying, overwhelming.
So how, yeah.
No, you can go. Go ahead.
So how can you help and support someone who is emotional or struggling emotionally? And that's where Earth thrives. And that's where you also can struggle when you can't help that someone. That the worst thing in the world is when you can't help someone who's in trouble who you love.
Including yourself.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. So even more important, again, this can only happen when everyone around you is doing pretty well, is that you finally can turn the power of your mind to yourself. So how are you feeling emotionally? What problems do you want to solve for yourself? How do you want to grow and evolve? And what deep realizations can you get to about yourself? That is the true essence of what an Earth person wants. Self-realization.
Yeah.
Isn't that it?
I think so.
I think that's the word we're searching for. Self-realization, to know and understand yourself on a very deep level. And there's no end to that self-knowing journey. Every time you have one of those aha moments, you know there's more to it. You know if you keep working, keep digging deeper, you're like an archaeologist, digging up,
old bones.
Yeah. Can I sing another song?
Yes. What song? Wait a minute.
I don't know if I can sing it, but I'll just mention it. It's Peter Gabriel's "Digging in the Dirt, Find the Places We Got Hurt." So I think he must be Earth.
I do not know that song.
Yeah, Digging in the Dirt.
When was that recorded?
Oh, I don't know, but
like the 50s.
Yeah, no. Peter Gabriel's
the 60s,
the 50s,
70s.
Anyway,
maybe the 80s.
Yeah. So if you are willing, Earth people are willing to dig in their dirt and find the places they've got hurt because they want the self-realization. They want to understand it.
And do you think that they get hurt more because they're trying to help everyone?
No, I don't actually.
How do they get hurt?
Well, I think actually. On the whole, I don't think they tend to get hurt more, maybe even less than others.
So what are you digging in the dirt for?
Well, it's the occasional big hurts that they're looking for. But it's not really about the pain. It's about understanding themselves through the pain. So I
give me an example.
So let's say an Earth person gets married and, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, great celebration. But soon after that, their spouse disappoints them with some behavior that maybe often anyone who's inconsiderate might kind of be a pet peeve for an Earth person. So let's say the spouse
because they're very considerate.
Because they're very considerate. So let's say they were inconsiderate. No big deal. That you notice it and you move on. And then, nothing big comes of it. But then it happens again. And then it happens again. And now you start feeling like, oh, we're struggling. So now your mind begins to work overtime. You're trying to figure it out. You're trying to understand what this rift is between you. And then you'll focus on the spouse for a long time, trying to figure out why they're so inconsiderate, why they're behaving that way. You could fast forward 20 years. And it's been 20 years of this, still trying to work it out. And what they want more than anything is to have the feeling like they did figure it out with their partner and they solved the problem and it's resolved. And that feeling like, yeah, we dug deep, we found the thing, we unearthed it, and now we can move on. And actually, unearthed is a really good word, isn't it?
That should be the next Brené Brown book.
Yes.
Unearthed.
It should.
She's Earth.
Brené Brown would love it, actually. Brené Brown, please make your next book that title. It's perfect. So that's what drives them. That's what gives them that feeling of success, that feeling of completion. We dug in there, we unearthed the source of the problem, and now we found an understanding, and we can move on.
Wow.
So it can be anything under the sun that feels like a problem, anything that's persistent and won't easily go away. You're willing to do the work, you're willing to dig in until there's a feeling of completion and resolution.
So do they like feeling unsettled the whole time that they're trying to dig in?
No,
or that makes them settled?
Not. No, they like the feeling that there is progress.
But
they don't want to feel
progress.
Yes, that's the worst. There's nothing worse than that. I think for an earth person, I can't imagine a worse thing is that you're really working hard and there's no progress. Mm-hmm. That's when the situation is untenable, and then maybe they're going to really make a big change, whatever it is. In that case, maybe get a divorce or whatever. It's like that happens.
And then it's still not time for them. When is it time for them to work on themselves?
Well, like I said, you can wait till everyone around you is doing well enough and then turn all this amazing mind power to your own self-development, your own self-cultivation. That would be the dream come true. But it may not be realistic. You might, from an alchemical perspective, have to say, whoa, I'm going to put me first, which is not easy for Earth. So, Earth's, true desire at heart is to get to the place where they can do their own self-development. And they just probably don't always know that, because when we ask them what they truly want, the first answer is always going to be family members, focused on them being happy, them being settled, them being, thriving, and not you thriving.
So what if they ask, what do you think your life is truly about? Would they just say family?
Well, some might, we have all 9 palaces, and just because it's the home palace doesn't mean an earth person might not answer and say my relationship.
And does it matter what the second kicker is, the second element?
Yeah, the second element,
really.
Right. It could be career because they have water second. It could be relationship because they have fire second. It could be...
Yeah, now it gets deeper. Now I get it.
Yeah. So, and then the problems might be coming up in those areas as well. So they might be having problems with coworkers. So it seems like it's about career, but again, it's probably about belonging in relationship and sort of the home palace in the end.
Or health and wealth, like
Yes.
you go to the top 4.
Yeah. So if you're Earth, knowing all of this, when we ask you to ask yourself the what do I really want question, we're going to ask you just as an experiment. You don't have to make it like your real life. Just put aside this very strong desire for your loved ones to be well. Just hypothetically, don't feel bad about it. Like, it's fine. Let's say you already have your wish and all your family members have peace and harmony. And now you get to ask that question. What do you really want for yourself deep down? What do you think your life is truly about? It doesn't have to be like doing, fitting into society's version of answering that question either.
Sure.
Right? It can be about how you want to be in the world. It can be how you want to feel. It can be about how you want to find out about yourself. Any of these things are fine, but you can ask your higher self this question and then give yourself some time to allow the answers to come to you. In other words, don't use your analytical mind to answer this question like, well, logically, I should want this. No, relax your mind. Really let it go, actually. Because remember, that's the power. You've got the power of the mind. In this case, you want your spirit to answer the question. So you got to kind of let that analytical mind go. And then let these answers arise from deep inside yourself, like a little meditation. Ask yourself, what do I really want? In fact, we've recorded this meditation in the Alchemy Learning Center.
What is it called, Lita?
The what do I really want question meditation.
What?
Yes.
That's a good question. That's a good answer.
Yeah. So we want the answer to come from the place beyond your mind. Or you can say the answer is coming from your heart. That's another way to look at it.
Well, that seems pretty easy. So there you go, Earth. Go at it. Take on that challenge.
Right.
If you want.
So that's it. So for homework, send us your answers. Go on the Facebook group or email us at lita@inspiredactionpodcast.com or jay@inspiredactionpodcast.com. We'd love to hear what you got. What are your answers? Write them down, document them, put them on a Post-it on your wall so you can remember them when you get distracted by all your loved ones again, because you will, and we're sure of it. Just just, write it down so you can focus on yourself some of that time.
Sure. And if all else fails, just go take a nice bath.
Yes.
And contemplate life.
Because ultimately, most Earths just want a nice bath. It's not everyone. I'm sure you're going to write me and say, I hate baths, but the majority of Earths love a good bath.
And why not? It's like it's a perfect peace and quiet, and you get your own time, and it's relaxing. So, all right. So that's part of your homework too. Go have a nice bath because you're probably doing so much for everyone else.
It's time for something for you.
That's right.
All right.
See you next week.
Bye. And check out the Audible book.
Yes.
All right.
It's
or on iTunes.
Audible and iTunes.
All right. Bye.
You've been listening to the Inspired Action Podcast, and you've reached the end. Woohoo! Why not celebrate a little bit and click that subscribe button right there. We love having you with us on this journey, and we want it to continue.
You can also rate and review this podcast. And if you have already, thank you so much. We read all reviews, and your reviews help other people find this podcast as well. You can also be a part of this podcast yourself by submitting a voice recording message and emailing it to us at lita@inspiredactionpodcast.com or jay@inspiredactionpodcast.com.
And if you want, you can join our Facebook group or follow us on Instagram.
Join us next week for another Inspired Action conversation. And thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening, and remember to hug the dog.